A little boy climbed an apple tree. He stole an apple, then two, then three. And when he started to climb back down, he slipped and he landed on the ground. Up jumped the devil, up jumped the devil. And every time he turned around, up jumped the devil in the white nightgown.
Good afternoon, America and the rest of the world. Xander J. Hobson here, stand-up comedian, entertainer, director and producer of boxing documentaries, and internet troll to those who need internet trolling. This is another episode of The Devil's Advocate, brought to you by the Brilliant Artist Movement. Folks, I'm trying to grow this here platform, so please subscribe, like this video, share it, and by all means, leave a comment in the comment section, because I enjoy checking out the feedback from these videos that I make, as well as exchanging opinions and points of views with you all. Hopefully you have something nice to say. However, if you feel the need to be a detractor, by all means, detract. We live in America, and this is a free country, and you are entitled to your opinions. But just know, if you get out of hand with your opinions, I'm going to ruin your day. I am the troll's troll, and trolling me will not be tolerated. So anyway, right, I want to talk about a fella by the name of Clarence Heatley, who is better known as the Preacher. I've been checking out these hood videos, and this Preacher guy is a real nasty character. The Preacher, a guy from New York City, I believe. He might have been from the Bronx or Harlem or one of those boroughs up there, but nevertheless, wherever he was up in New York, Clarence Heatley, aka the Preacher, he was up there wreaking all kind of havoc. This guy had a basement torture chamber. Basically what this guy was doing, he was shaking down other drug dealers, and if they didn't pay up, Clarence Heatley would take these guys into his torture chamber, and he would execute them and then dismantle their bodies with a chainsaw. He was a real nasty guy, the Preacher. He seemed to like emasculating guys sexually, and often enough it was said that the Preacher would rape a guy before he killed him and have sexual relations with the guy's dead body after he killed him. Real sick guy, this Preacher fella. For the most part, the only way someone could describe him is as a monster, because again, to rape a man and then rape his dead body or have sex with his dead body after you killed him, I mean, that's a sick and twisted mind right there. The irony behind this Preacher guy is, when he finally got locked up, he ratted on everyone. And not only did he rat on everyone, during his trial, he asked that his mother be removed from the courtroom because he didn't want his mother to know what a monster her little Preacher was. The main purpose of this video is, I want to talk about this guy, Preacher, being a rat. Now, I've been checking out a lot of these hood videos, or whatever, however you would describe them, these gangster videos, and I realized in watching these videos, a lot of the guys who make these videos, they put a huge amount of effort into calling a guy a snitch. And often enough, when you hear guys talking about guys like Alpo Martinez, Frank Lucas, and Nicky Barnes, all notable snitches, the guys making the video, they have an overwhelming hatred for these guys. They can't take a detached look at the story that they're reporting on. They take it personal that these guys are snitches. And a lot of times, when you hear these guys who make these videos talking about Nicky Barnes and Alpo and Frank Lucas, you almost get the impression, if they was in the same room with any of these individuals, that there would be hell to pay for these guys who snitched. Now, we all know that this is a lot of talk because, you know, after all, Alpo, Frank Lucas, and Nicky Barnes, These guys aren't chumps. They're snitches. And the only reason why they snitch is for the sheer purposes of self-preservation. Now, with me on the other hand, right, I have a totally impartial view toward these guys because first and foremost, I'm a law-abiding citizen. And when I think of criminals, I don't think of criminals behaving in an honorable manner. For example, Alpo Martinez killed his good friend, Rich Porter. So if Alpo Martinez could kill his good friend, Rich Porter, why would I find it surprising that a guy that killed his friend snitched on his other friends? People who commit the kind of crimes that Alpo Martinez and Nicky Barnes and Frank Lucas do, these guys are sociopaths. You know, you can't expect honorable behavior from out of these guys. But nevertheless, let's get back to the preacher. The preacher, even though he was a bloodthirsty killer who liked to have sex with men before he killed them and their dead bodies after he killed them, the preacher was a snitch. And even though the preacher was a snitch, you don't hear people put a whole lot of vigor into calling the preacher a snitch. And not only was the preacher a snitch, the preacher was the kind of guy, or is the kind of guy, who you better not say nothing to him about snitching. The preacher was a bad man, and the preacher is a bad man. And to show you how bad the preacher was, the preacher snitched on his whole crew, including his son, and when he went to jail, the preacher didn't take protective custody. The preacher walked the yard and the cell block, daring anyone to say anything to him about being a snitch. From what I understand from the documentaries that I saw, the preacher could throw them things. You know, he might not have been above picking up the pistol, but if the preacher had to handle himself, the preacher was perfectly capable of going upside somebody's head. And not only was the preacher capable of going upside someone's head, the preacher would rape your ass if he felt the need to do so. So I just figured I'd throw that out there to all of you guys who have all of this smoke for people being snitches. Again, I don't hear you guys making a big fuss about the preacher being a snitch. Again, the preacher was a snitch, but the preacher didn't go into protective custody. The preacher walked the yard with the rest of the criminals, daring anyone to say anything to him about being a snitch. So I figured I'd just share that with you all. You know, it was something that was on my mind. You know, I'm trying to grow the platform the best way that I can. I don't really like, you know, making videos about guys like the preacher and Alpo and all of that, because, you know, a lot of cases is people glorifying dysfunction. And I don't like the idea of glorifying dysfunction. But if I can pull something out of the content that I'm watching and make it a teachable moment for the youth, that's what I'm going to do. So with that said, folks, I'm done with it. Bam.